in Brno. And as tomorrow is the World Veterinary Day, we as the World Association for Bioiatrics, together with the World Association for Small and Companion Animals, together with Beringer and some other companies, we participated to a survey campaign that you will find in the email that I have just sent you. Perhaps some of you will receive today, some of you will receive tomorrow, on a survey campaign that was done in the last months on the perception of the importance of the veterinary profession in the different aspects, in livestock, companion animals, poultry, horses, and so on. But this is not the topic of our webinar today, but nevertheless, I try again to show you the video that we presented. I share the screen again. Condivido this one. Okay, now perhaps it works also the sound.
Now we have the sound.
As usually, I do mistake. This was the video that was prepared for the horses.
Yes.
Now I'm sorry, but I try to go back to the video of the livestock. Yes, this is just a moment.
No, the music was really impressive.
Oh my God.
Not yet coming up.
Hello, Peter.
Hello.
Professor Czech. Good evening.
Good evening.
Now perhaps it's better, Peter. Sorry. Oh. Okay, sorry, I'm not so familiar with all this technology. really sorry, but I think that at least we have understood the effort that we have been trying to do for emphasizing the importance of the veterinaries and for giving evidence of also of our association. But now is the time to start with our webinar. So the webinar today is, as usually, represented by two parts. The first part is, as usually, the presentation of the local association, and this time the local association is the Czech Republic Pediatric Association, because we are here in Brno attending the Middle European Congress here in Brno, and therefore it is of course normal that the hosting association can present the association. And we have taken the advantage of the presence here of one of the keynote speaker, that Munashe Chigewe from the States, from California, from Davis, California, that he will present. So I asked him to present the same presentation that he showed us yesterday. But before starting with presenting the second guest, I introduce Romana Kadek, that represent the Czech Republic Pediatric Association. Romana is academic assistant at the veterinary school in Brno, and her competences are especially concentrated on mineral and vitamin metabolism and deficiency. And so, Romana, now the microphone is yours. Please show us how is the situation, how is the Pediatric Association in Czech Republic, and how is also somehow the situation of the pediatricians here in this Middle European country. Thank you, Romana.
Please tune up your microphone. We can see your screen, but you have to lock your microphone, to unlock.
Better, I think you locked.
Okay.
Now it's okay.
Okay.
Now it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now you can see my presentation?
I see your presentation and we can hear you.
Great. Okay. So, first of all, thank you. Thank you very much, the President, Professor Arcangelo Gentile, for this opportunity to present our Czech Association for Pediatrics, as well as Czech ruminant farming for all of our dear colleagues from near and far away. So I will start with Czech Association for Pediatrics. Just a few words about its history. The Czech Association for Pediatrics continues the activities of the Czech Pediatric Society, which was founded on the initiative of the Ruminant Diseases Clinic of the Veterinary and Pharmaceutical University in Brno at the founding assembly on April 8, 1998 in Brno. This activity was developed for local veterinarians focused on the health issues of cattle and small animals, small ruminants, sorry. In a very short time, it developed a rich activity focused on organizing professional seminars for pediatric-oriented veterinarians, then also for students and other specialized focus on ruminants' health. In the year 2005, it has already about 150 members, and this association bring together veterinarian students and other specialized for ruminants' health. The first president until 2008, at the same time the head of the ruminant disease clinic, ruminant disease clinic was Professor Vahofirek. Then the vice-president.
Sorry.
Yes.
I think you are not going through your slides.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, we are still with a starting slide. Yeah, no, there we are. Yeah. Fine.
Okay, so
Yes.
now I will try. Now I will try to move slide. Is it okay?
Yes. Yes.
Now back?
Now we see Professor Illich.
Great. Okay. So I will continue. If there will be another technical problem, just tell me, please. So, as I said, the first president of Czech Association for Pediatrics until year 2008 was Professor Hofírek. He was at the same time the head of the clinic, ruminant disease clinic at the University of Veterinary and Pharmaceutical Sciences in Brno. Vice-president in that time was Professor Josef Ilek, Rudolf Dvořák, member of Presidium, Professor Zdeněk Pospíšil, Dr. Karel Daniel. Current president of Czech Association for Pediatrics is Professor Josef Ilek. Please let me to introduce you our mission. It is to participate in increasing the level of professional knowledge of members of Czech Association for Pediatrics in the field of ruminant veterinary medicine, in diagnosis.
You switch the next slide, please.
Start from the first slide.
Now?
Yeah.
Now it's...
We see still the slide with the president and Professor Illich.
Yeah, I just change it and...
Yeah.
Okay,
now
so
we
maybe...
see the mission.
Yeah, okay, so maybe I will, if it's not another option, I will going always back and then to do the current slide. So...
No.
Now it's okay.
Okay.
We see mission.
Yeah, okay. So I have to say that we emphasize especially preventive medicine, preventive clinical examination, laboratory analysis, metabolic tests of whole herds, flocks, categories in the farms. Then our mission is to raising the level of welfare and effective prevention, as I said, in ruminant farms, exchange of information, cooperation, not only with another veterinarians, but also with breeders, farmers, and any other professional services dealing with the ruminant health. Can you see our aims?
Yes.
Perfect. So our aim is to associate the veterinarians, as I said, who deal with ruminant health and diseases, exchange any knowledges, experience between us. The aim of Czech Association for Pediatrics is to lifelong education of its members, ensuring contacts on national and international scale. Okay. Also organizing professional conferences, seminar, courses, and other activities, publish activity of professional and scientific publication, and of course, ensure compliance with ethical principles when performing any veterinary work. Let me please introduce your main activities and conferences, and I will start with the Middle European Pediatric Congress, because one of them is currently ongoing, 23rd Middle European Pediatric Congress right here in Brno. At the past, we organized 3rd Middle European Pediatric Congress in 2001 in a place, a wonderful place called Vysočina. In our language, it means highlands, illustratively right here on this picture, upper. Then 11 Middle European Pediatric Congress at 2010 in Hotel Voroněž, directly in Brno. And 16 Middle European Pediatric Congress in 2016 in lovely city Hradec Králové. I would like to dedicate a few words for this ongoing Congress, 23rd Middle European Pediatric Congress. It is held in Brno at the hotel, Spa Resort Hotel Atlantis. Here was 162 delegates plus 84 students, invited 9 keynote speakers, we had 57 short communications, 49 posters, and there was 17 short communications in student section. From invited keynote speakers, there was Professor Muna Shigerve from California, America, for the section calves and young stock. Then President Professor Arcangelo Gentile gave us a valuable lecture about neurological diseases. Professor John Mee for nutrition, metabolic diseases. Professor Sarne de Vlieger told us what is new in mastitis in the section of other health and mastitis. For the reproduction section, give us keynote speech Professor Arpa Csaba-Bajtici and Professor Otto Senci from Hungary, Professor Csaba-Bajtici from Germany. Then for infectious diseases section, Dr. Attila Dobos, and for lameness and surgery, Professor Alexander Starke from Germany. Just, sorry. Just few pictures from this Congress. Yeah, as you can see at the welcoming ceremony, Professor Ilek is welcoming the participants. Professor Shigerve is giving his valuable lecture about calves diseases, morbidity, mortality, and where we can interfere. Glance to the audience, poster section, President Professor Arcangelo Gentile giving lecture in neurological diseases. Here is section of metabolism and nutrition. Yeah, and so this is just for you to see how it looks like here. Before the lectures itself, we organized the Czech Association for Pediatrics organized also a workshop. It was this time it was organized in organic goat farm Dora, which is located in the city Ratibožice. The little instructor here was Professor Vitek. Then another instructors give a workshop for different field in the goat medicine, parasitology, milking and mastitis, young stock, as you can see. For parasitology, Dr. Floriana Sajovic, then Dr. Grameter-Frötzer, milking mastitis, Professor Thomas Vitek, and for young stock, Dr. Cassandra Abel. For the first time in the history of Middle European Pediatric Congress, a student session was included in the conference program. This session was led by Professor Walter Baumgartner. The three best presentation from student section was then recognized and announced at the ceremony at the evening. So this was about Middle European Pediatric Congress. Now I will continue with some of our another activities, conferences. Practically, we Czech Association for Pediatrics is organizing every year 2 pediatric seminars. One is in the month of March, April. It means spring seminar at the lovely city Hradec Králové. I just choose some of them recently organized. For example, health issues of sheep and goats. The invited keynote speaker was Dr. Adela Černá, which obtained experiences from Bavaria, Germany. Then in 2023, there was topic health management of high production dairy cows. invited keynote speaker, Professor Walter Baumgartner and Dr. George Eller. Then we organized in 2022 seminar about mastitis and other health. Invited keynote speaker was Dr. Sarne de Vlieger. And then in 2018, there was the main topic, diseases of calves and young stock, invited keynote speaker, Walter Baumgartner. So every year we are organizing this seminar. Practically everyone who is interested in health ruminants is invited in this Congress, not only veterinarians and practitioners, but also students. Another annual conference is our annual autumn conference. It's organized directly at the veterinary University of Veterinary Sciences, Brno. And in the year 2023, in November, we had Dr. Robert Klein, who gave us the whole day lectures about selected diseases of the locomotor system in cattle, so lameness. And in 2022, there was the main topic, calf health management. The invited keynote speaker was Professor John Mee from Ireland. There was many other conferences. We had about reproduction topic. Invited speaker was Professor Otto Senci from Hungary. This conference is organized every year in our university at Pavilion of Professor Klobouk. Now, so this was about Czech Association for Bioatrics, about our main activities. Now I will continue. I will give you some information about ruminants farming in Czech Republic. I will start with this graph for you to see how was the development of cattle and from that cows numbers in the years between 93 till 2022. As you can see, unfortunately, it's quite decreasing. In fact, after the 1990, the structure of breeds in the Czech Republic changed. There was import of some cattle from Germany and France, mostly Holstein cattle. Also beef cattle was imported from Canada, especially Aberdeen Angus. Until the 90 years, only small numbers of local breeds like Czech spotted cattle and small number of Herefords from beef breed was here. Then Charolais and Limousin were imported from France and also Piedmont breed from Italy. Currently, I will speak also about breeds individually here. Currently, the most frequented cattle breed is Holstein, then the Czech spotted cattle, and from beef is Charolais and Aberdeen Angus. We have also some smaller farms where the Jersey is bred, then Bronsby. And I have to say that currently quite popular is Scottish Highlands cattle. I would like to dedicate a few more words for Czech spotted cattle. Because it's original breed of cattle in the territory of the Czech Republic. This cattle, it's part of the worldwide population of spotted breeds of the same phylogenetic origin, known as Fleckvich. It's approximately 1/2 of the total number of cattle bred in the Czech Republic. About meal productivity, target requirement is about 60,500 till 7,500 kilograms of milk for primiparous cow, and from that 1,000 more for multiparous cow. And as you can see, the meat yield is like average dairy gain 1.3 grams in intensive bull fattening. Just to compare it with Holstein, although the Czech spotted cattle is very resistant, healthy breed, it has the milk production is about 7,000, 8,000. There is a little bit higher fat and protein content in the milk when we compare with Holstein. But however, it's very resistant and healthy breed. Just for the overall picture, I want to show you the production and sales of milk for first half a year in 2023. The milk production for first half of in the year for 2023 was 1.7, something like 1.7 millions. Then average daily milk yield, it's about 25 liters. And as you can see, the next information, average milk yield per half a year is for about 4,000 liters. About diseases, we are currently free, and we are controlling the flow of diseases. Infectious bovine rhinotracheitis, we have free status. And yes, the tuberculosis, the last occurrence was 2002. And there was eradication program which ended in 1968. The vaccination is prohibited in Czech Republic. Then, brucellosis also for sheep, it's controlled, and actually we have this disease-free territory status. The same for bovine enzootic leukosis. We have free territory status as same for, we are also monitoring bovine spongiform encephalopathis. Let me to tell you something about goat breeds in the Czech Republic. Currently, here is not too much goats in Czech Republic. However, the most frequent breed of goats are white short-haired goat. It's one of the most frequented. Then brown short-haired goat, also quite common. Alpine goat, and from the meat breed, it's Boer goat. And let's say less amount Valais blackneck goat, and especially as a pet animal is currently becoming popular dwarf goat of the Dutch type, the mini breed. A white short-haired goat, I would like to dedicate a few more words for this breed because it's most frequented breed here. It's very resistant breed, suitable for individual as well for intensive breeding. And it's developed from domestic and San breed of goats. Just shortly, as I said, from meat breed of goats, we have some of the Boer goats farm in the Czech Republic. There was first import of this breed in 1988. And this is the breed of goat which had good fertility. Okay, I have to mention a little bit more or speak a little bit more about Dora Goat Farm, where was conducted a workshop for this ongoing Congress. This is organic biofarm of the white short-haired goats. They have about 500 of goats and a little flock, about 40 sheep of the Suffolk breed. Yeah, it's a sheep. This farm is producing organic goat milk and other milk products like yogurt and cheese. The goats are seasonally at the pasture. Yeah, just a nice glance at this farm. Yeah, as you can see at the stable, on the pasture, and their products. About sheep breeds in the Czech Republic, the mostly frequented breed here is Lacoon, then East Frisian sheep, Texel Romney, Suffolk, and because of merino products, here you can find also Cameroon sheep and merino Landschaft. Here is sheep breeding has a quite long tradition on the territory of Czech Republic. As you can see, the development of the number of sheep in the Czech Republic between the years 1992 and 2022 was as follows. There was a significant decline of the number of sheep between years 1999 and 2004. Then it started to be increasing. And currently, yeah, this was the last year you have in this graph 2022, but currently the number of sheep is quite increasing in Czech Republic, and actually, yeah, a lot of sheep are in the, especially in the highlands region, Vysočina, as I mentioned before. Llamas and alpacas are becoming very popular in the Czech Republic, and we have also increasing number of this ruminants, camelids. Yeah, and we are also trying to organize some courses and seminars focus on these animals as they are really become very popular between breeders and owners. So thank you very much for your attention. I have to say that it was a big honor and at the same time pleasure for me to present for you this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Romana. So you got perfectly the target of the presentation that we asked you, because as everybody know, we always try to, as the member of the World Association for Bariatric, are the single local association. I think it's important if the local association, the member can share their experience, they can share what they do, the context where they work, and therefore you presented perfectly what your association has been doing, included the current Congress. We are here at the venue, and therefore sometimes you can see there is a little bit confusion because in some rooms there are still some presentations and people are coming through, going through and so on. Therefore, thank you, Romana. Perfect. If there are some questions we can do at the end. Usually we don't have a long discussion, because I would like to introduce immediately the next guest. That was a speaker at the Congress. He spoke yesterday, and it is Dr. Munashe Chigewe, that is a professor of livestock medicine and surgery at the Department of Medicine and Epidemiology at the University of California, Davis. Munashe graduated in Zimbabwe, where he came from, so in his homeland in 2001. Then he completed 1 year internship and a 3-year residency in food animal medicine and surgery, and a master in public health and a PhD in pathobiology at the University of Missouri in Columbia. and then he became also diplomate of the American College of Veteran Internal Medicine in 2007, and then finally he moved to California, to Davis. And I asked him, I liked very much his presentation yesterday, and I asked him to repeat his presentation, and also has, due to his origin, African origin, I also asked him to give us an insight on some comparison between the situation or the kind of rearing system in California and the situation in his homeland in Zimbabwe. Therefore, Munashe, thank you very much. I have to move immediately because the conference has finished and people are going through here. Therefore, I give you the microphone, Munashe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen in a minute here.
Yeah, we see your screen and now in the presentation modus. Fantastic.
Okay, thank you. It is an honor to be here in the Czech Republic, sort of presenting some of the production approaches in the United States. You know, before I begin my presentation, I just really want to acknowledge one of the individuals who is on this Zoom meeting, Rachel Stewart, and she was one of my very, very dear mentor when I was in vet school, and she continues to be one of my mentors. So I really want to acknowledge your presence, and I just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate it. So I'm just going to go through some of the pre-weaning health in dairy calves in the United States, and I'm going to briefly talk about some of the intervention that we can approach to reduce morbidity and mortality in calves. So, and as mentioned, you know, I'm from California, which is on the western part of the United States. So if I can just get you to see if I can move my slides here.
Yes, the slides moves.
All right, good. So just a background, you know, I was just gonna explain, you know, how we raise calves in California, and then look at some of the critical points for pre-weaning health, and then just talk about what are some of the available information at hand right now, and then some of the current studies that we're trying to perform in order to get more information regarding raising calves in California. So just to orient yourself, for those that have hadn't had a chance to look at the map of the United States. So this is on the western part of the United States, and this is on the eastern part, and this is the southern part where we have a border with Mexico, and then this is the northern part where we have a border with Canada. So Europe will be somewhere here, and then Africa will be even further to the east. So as mentioned, I live in California, so this is kind of like the area that I'm going to be talking about. So, but then if I zoom on to the state itself, as you can see, this is the northern part of California, and then this is the southern part. I just want to draw your attention to sort of the numbers of calves that are being raised. So in these dark green areas like here and here in the central part of the state, this is where we have most of the cows, and you know, estimates of the amount of money that is being made is somewhere between $1 billion to almost $2 billion. But also one of the things you notice as well is that the lighter green areas here tend to be on the northern part or on the southern part. And cattle are raised either on conventional dairies or they are raised on organic dairies. And there's a few differences between conventional dairies and organic dairies. And one of the biggest difference, obviously, is the size. On most conventional dairies, you know, the range is, you know, of cows, up from about 900 cows all the way to 10,000 cows. Whereas on organic dairies, they're a little bit smaller, as well as little as 60 cows up to 1,300 cows. And that's kind of like when I look at, just remembering about Africa, most of the dairy size are going to be in this region as well, in a couple hundred cows, but usually less than 1,500 cows. And then when we look at the location of these dairy farms, most of the bigger farms or the conventional dairies are located in the central part of the state, whereas the organic dairies tend to be located up in the north. The reason being that in fact, all organic dairies, they require to have the cows on pastures. The central part and the southern part of the state is pretty dry, so it'll be very difficult for them to raise the animals on pasture, which is required on organic dairy. So they tend to be raised up north because there's more rain, and so they can actually feed the cows off pasture and then milk the cows. When we compare the price of milk, obviously the price of milk is lower for milk that is from conventional dairies compared to the milk that is harvested from organic dairies. The reason being that there's a big market push for organic dairy milk, and it's considered natural, so consumers are more likely to pay a higher price for organic milk compared to conventional milk. And currently, the number of cows or the number of dairy cows in California is about 1.7 million. So it's a large number of cows that are being raised in California. So just to give you again, sort of like a background on how these cows are raised. So on the left side here, you can see this is a typical conventional dairies, and we use freestall barns, so the cows stay here and they're being fed. And if you look on the left here, this is the feed material, and obviously the cows spend their entire life in the stalls. Whereas on organic dairies, you can see the cows actually spend most of their time on pasture, except when they go to get milked. But obviously, you also notice that cows on organic dairies are less likely to produce more milk just because they're on grass, whereas cows in conventional dairies, they'll produce a large amount of milk per day. So I just want to take you through what happens to cows when they're born, whether it's on an organic dairy or whether it's on a conventional dairy. So kind of like just, starting from where, in this case, where we have a cow just giving birth. And in this case, this is on a conventional dairy. You can see that the cow is in a individual store where they put the cow when they're ready to calve. And then you can also see all the cows up here, they're dry cows, so they'll be they're getting ready to calve as well. One of the things you notice is that the bedding in the store here is from almond shells, which is a bedding that we use just because California does grow a lot of almonds as well. So when they crack the shells and take out the seeds, they will use the shells as bedding. So when a calf is born, if it's a heifer calf, it can either be raised on site on the farm, or some of the farms, they contract somebody else to raise the calves for them, and we call those calf raising facilities. If it is a bull calf, and particularly if they are Holstein calves, which are larger, they will be sent to the calf ranch because they are worth somewhere between $100 and $200 when they are less than a week old. Unfortunately, if they are Jersey calves, sometimes they're not worth that much. And in the last decade, most of the calves, especially if they were Jerseys, because they were worth $0, they were euthanized. But now what most farms are doing, they just use sex semen. So most of the heifer calves from Jersey farms are female calves. A few of the farms now, they are crossing some beef breeds with Jerseys, particularly Charolais Angus, and in sometimes Wagyu as well. So just kind of like just a summary of what happens to calves when they are born on a farm. However, obviously, if it's on an organic dairy, most of the calves are raised on site just because they don't use any antimicrobials or any other drugs. So they like to raise the calves on site. And that's possible for them because most of the farms are smaller. So once the calf is born, obviously feeding colostrum is really, really important. That's going to be the premise of this presentation, as I said at the beginning. And this is on a farm that is medium sized. They have 4,000 calves. And this is a gentleman that goes around the farm to pick up calves and feed colostrum. And it's a one-person job. And these individuals are all trying to do so. And I'm just going to show you a video of the gentleman feeding colostrum in a calf. So he has this truck that, he carries the calves around, and you can see how he makes it look easy to feed calves using a tube. So on large farms, most of the colostrum is fed using a tube. Whereas, on smaller farms, because it takes a while for the calf to nest colostrum from a bottle, if there's on a smaller farm, then obviously it's easy to use the bottle to feed colostrum. And that's how I remember as well when I was growing up in Africa that, we fed most of the colostrum using a bottle because there were very few calves born in a day. A few of the organic dairies will feed colostrum by allowing the calf to nurse, and then they'll separate the calf after 24 to 48 hours. But for most part, on most conventional dairies, either they use tubing or they use bottle to feed colostrum. So once the calves are born, then they're going to be, as I said before, they're going to be raised either on site, which is on the farm, or they're going to be sent to a calf raising facility. And obviously at the on-site or the calf raising facility, there is the typical hutch, which has a bucket for feed, a bucket for water, and then there's a space to put the milk bottle. And then on the back, actually, there's a venting window that you can open. And this is because in California, it can get really hot in the summer, up to 45 degrees Celsius sometimes. So during that time, you can actually open the vents at the back for ventilation. However, this setup is obviously expensive. This whole setup here costs about $400, so which is quite a bit of money. And obviously, if calves are sent to a calf ranch, particularly bull calves, they use a different kind of hutch. And one of the things you notice is that the hutch is made in such a way that you can feed 3 calves as a team. So if you can look closely, there's a calf here, and a third calf here. And when you look inside the calf, actually, you can see that there's these wooden slats and there's some space between them. And so, which means if a calf urinates, all the urine is going to go underneath, and there's a drain that they can actually wash, every now and then. It has the same setup, obviously, in terms of feeding. There's one bucket for feed, one bucket for water, and then there's space to put the milk bottle. Obviously, this setup, although it's cheaper than the previous one, you can save a lot of money. This only cost about $40 compared to $400 on the previous slide that I showed you. However, obviously, the disadvantage of this setup is that these 3 calves actually can have nose-to-nose contact. So obviously, if there's a disease outbreak in this group of calves, a lot of them are most likely going to end up with the infectious disease as well. The other thing is that when you look at the setup, they don't really prevent inclement weather, especially when it gets really hot or when it's raining, compared to the previous slide where you can see the calf will just go inside here if it's raining. So I think we all know, especially, the people who are on this Zoom, that, colostrum is very important to the immune system of the calf. And we all know that, calves that don't get enough colostrum are at a higher risk for morbidity and mortality. And obviously, they won't gain as much as calves that get enough colostrum just because they tend to be sick. So we tend to spend money on them, trying to treat them. And then if they do make it to the first lactation, obviously they are removed from the herd for other reasons. And obviously it might be associated with the fact that they didn't grow as fast as the other calf that got enough colostrum. And obviously some estimates of up to 1,000 pounds less in milk production have been put forward, especially for those calves that did not get enough colostrum when they were young. So, given all this information, that we know that colostrum is very important. We know that, it is important to feed colostrum on time, and it is important to feed good quality colostrum. How come we still have, a significant amount of, or significant proportion of calves still not getting enough colostrum? In the United States, estimates are somewhere between 10 to 30% of calves that don't get enough colostrum. On a smaller farm, with say 200 cows, 10% is only, 20 calves, but certainly on a 10,000 cow dairy, 10% is a huge number. It's 1,000 calves that are not getting enough colostrum. So given all that information, what are some of the critical points that, we can work with to try and prevent morbidity and mortality based on the colostrum? And the other thing is, how come, the producers or the farmers know the importance of colostrum? How come they're still struggling to give sufficient colostrum to calves? So before I go into the details of why we have some challenges in feeding sufficient colostrum, I just want to go back to the basics where we look at how disease occur, that, we have interaction between the host, the agent, as well as the environment. And obviously the environment is going to be, different depending on the farm. But in our case in California, the hatches, you only have 2 types. So we kind of know that is fixed in terms of, most farms that are raising many calves, they probably would try and use the cheaper hatches, and the ones that have money would try and use the more expensive hatches. So that is set. And then when we talk about the agent, which is the infectious agent causing disease in calves, we cannot really change that. We can try and prevent it through vaccinations and other things. But again, in a certain geographical area, then we tend to see certain pathogens causing problems. However, when you look at the calf, which is the host in this case, there's a few things that we can certainly change. And I'm going to focus on colostrum ingestion here, obviously, just because this is the sort of the topic, that I'm presenting. So I'm just going to give you an example of a large dairy farm and how they milk the cows, as well as how they collect colostrum. And that's going to sort of give you an idea of why it is difficult, or at least why it is challenging for large farms to collect colostrum on time, as well as to feed colostrum to calves on time. So if we just go on here, they'll start milking the fresh cows at 5:30 in the morning. And so, which means if there are calves on the ground already, what they will do is they'll feed 4 liters of colostrum once. And their reasoning is that, they won't be able to get to this calf for the second time. Obviously, in the literature, we always recommend to feed colostrum, twice within the first 24 hours. But if they have a very large farm, sometimes they're not able to get to that calf for the second time. So they'll just feed 4 liters once. And then if a cow calves between 5:30 in the morning and 12:30 in the afternoon, that cow, we have to wait until 12:30 to have colostrum collected from her. And that's a problem, because we always recommend to producers or to farmers to collect, the colostrum as soon as possible, within 2 hours after the calving. But if a cow calves between 5:30 and 12:30, she's going to have to wait until the next milking, and that is almost 7 hours after she calved. And then same thing will happen again before the third milking at 5:30. And what happens that between 5:30 p.m. and then 5:30 the next morning, they only have employees watching calves for calving until 10 p.m. And if a calf is born between 5:30 p.m. and 10 p.m., that calf will only get 2 liters of colostrum. And then on the next day at 5:30, that same calf will get the second feeding. And what they do, they'll leave the calves in the calving pens here, pick them up at 5:30, feed them the second feeding, and then take them to the hatches. So just looking at that sort of scenario, you can see how difficult it is for producers to collect colostrum on time as well as to feed colostrum on time, because everything is associated with milking. So we've had all about, how do we sort of approach, successful colostrum feeding, and obviously the quality, the quantity, and the quickness are sort of like the 3 steps in successful colostrum feeding. And I'm just going to take each one of these steps and then look into detail on how we can make sure that calves get enough colostrum. So let's start with quality first. So, I think in the previous or the last decade or so, 15, 20 years ago, we had producers or farmers that would look at the color of the colostrum and sort of perceive that if the colostrum is yellow and thick, it's good colostrum, but if it's milky or if it's white and very light or watery, then it's poor quality colostrum. Obviously, now we know that that is not the case, and same thing with the weight of the first milking colostrum. So at this point, we really recommend producers to use a refractometer. Different ones, but the Brix refractometer is one that is easily available, and it is about $120, and most producers like to use this because you can also use it on serum as well after to test whether calves got enough colostrum or not. In my days, growing up in Africa, at that time I don't think we had any better ways of testing the quality of colostrum. So for most part, we recommend the producers either checking the colostrum quality before they feed to the calf right away, or before they freeze the colostrum for the next calf. So the quality checking is one of the biggest recommendation that we're giving to the producers. The second one, if they can, is to heat treat the colostrum. And, we heat treat colostrum for many reasons. And one of them is, obviously preventing transmission of certain disease like, paratuberculosis. But we also trying to make sure that, we kill the bacteria that might be there from contamination with manure. And obviously, we know that presence of bacteria in colostrum will reduce absorption of immunoglobulins. However, I think one of the challenging things is that, the pasteurizers that are used for heat treatment of colostrum, they're pretty expensive. In California, they range from somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000. But we've also have producers that are very creative, and they can actually make their own pasteurizers using stainless steel. Some of them actually do use the skills of an engineer, but most of them can actually make their own pasteurizer. To the right of the slide, you can see that this is one that was custom made by one of the producers, stainless steel, and then sort of like embedded into the floor. And then it has this agitator here. And obviously you have to design the pasteurizer in such a way that, it doesn't build too much pressure. And you want to make sure that the colostrum is mixed really well to prevent the colostrum from being too thick. So it's basically like a big pressure cooker, if you will. So here's a video of one of the employees preparing the colostrum in the pasteurizer. You can see there's a strainer here just to make sure that, you can remove some of the manure particles before it goes into the pasteurizer. And you can see the agitator here. And one of the advantages of this pasteurizer as well is that, as the colostrum is cooling, they can actually use that heat dissipation to actually warm up the water as well. So this is just closing the pasteurizer and then just turning it on. It takes about an hour to reach, the required temperature, and then another 30 minutes for the colostrum to cool down before it can be fed to the colostrum. So again, just a summary of the qualities that we have to check using a refractometer. And then 2, if the producer is able to heat treat the colostrum, that would be great. So the next step will be the quantity of the colostrum. I mean, there's many studies out there that, indicate that, you can give colostrum based on the calf's weight, but again, for practical purposes, it's very difficult for a producer to weigh every calf and then give colostrum based on that calf's weight, because, the calves are going to have different weights. So we came up with recommendations that are based on just the volume, because the bottles they are also using to feed colostrum, they are either 2 liters or 3 liters. So if you just look at this slide here, this is kind of like a summary of the different recommendations. So what I want to just point out is that if the producers are able to feed colostrum twice, then we recommend 2 to 3 liters for Holstein calves twice within 24 hours. But if they're Jersey calves, because they're smaller, volumes beyond 3 liters sometimes can make the calf really uncomfortable, and then actually reduce the absorption of the colostrum components as well, because it just fills up the abomasum and eventually will fill up the small rumen as well. As I said before, on some farms, on some large farms, they are not able to feed the colostrum twice. So we recommend just feeding 3 liters, once within the first 2 to 4 hours of life, whether they're feeding that by tubing or whether they're using a bottle to feed the colostrum. So here's just an example of when a Jersey calf is fed 4 liters of colostrum. The example of the large farm that I showed you, they feed 4 liters of colostrum to calves that were born that are born during the day. So you can see the calf looks really distended because there's so much colostrum inside, and obviously this is going to have a negative impact on the absorption. The reason why this farm is giving 4 liters is that instead of 3, is that they just didn't want to split, the 2-liter bottle, because it takes a little bit more time to do that. So they've decided that they'll feed 4 liters regardless. So the last part is the quickness. So, and quickness is both quickness in collecting the colostrum from the cow, as well as quickness to feed the calf the colostrum. So, I mean, recommendations, to collect colostrum within 2 hours after pasteurization, and to feed colostrum within 2 hours to the calf after birth. But as already described from that example that I gave you, that can be very, very difficult to do, because, if 70 calves are born in a day, even if you try and feed them within 2 hours, by the time you get to calf number 70, that calf is already a couple hours old, because it takes so much time to feed that many calves. So just a summary of the recommendations currently, is to collect colostrum from the cows within 6 hours after pasteurization, and that sort of like might match, the milking times as well. And then if possible, then heat treat colostrum, and then obviously check the quality of colostrum, which with whatever instrument the farmers might use, and also we have to take into consideration the sensitivity of that instrument they're using. And then obviously feed the colostrum to the calf within 6 hours if possible. And then if you're able to feed it twice, then, 2 liters within the first couple hours, and then another 2 liters before the calf is 24 hours. And then obviously, if you only feed colostrum once, then 3 liters is sufficient within the first 6 hours. And obviously checking for passive transfer status for calves that are, 1 to 7 days of age. So in California, despite the fact that, almost all farmers know the importance of colostrum. However, the large farms really don't talk to the small farms because everyone is busy. And so they have no idea how they're doing in terms of, feeding colostrum and in terms of calf health. So one of the things that we're trying to do right now is to collect information from both organic dairies and conventional dairies, and just sort of give them information on how they're doing in terms of colostrum management. So we have the different types of management, conventional versus organic, and we have calves that are being raised on site, and then we also have calves that are being raised on ranches, and then we also have a lot of antimicrobials being used, depending on the setup. And then so we're trying to give this information to the producers so that they can actually assess how they're doing. So this is kind of like a setup of the study. We have 28 conventional farms enrolled, and we have 28 organic farms enrolled. And then for conventional dairies, obviously, they can raise them on site or they can send them to calf raising facilities. And then, like I said, for most organic dairies, they'll raise the calves on site. And we're looking at how they performing their colostrum management. And that also includes the bacteriological profile of colostrum, even after heat treatment, as well as the nutritional components in milk, as well as the bacteriological component of milk as well. And then we're also looking at their record keeping, as well as the morbidity and mortality in the different farms, and then how much antimicrobial they're using. And this has become really, really important in the last couple of years, just because the producers in California are required to record all the antibiotics they're using and what they're using them for. And then obviously we're also looking at their treatment protocols. Who's making those treatment protocols? Are they being followed, and how do they know whether those are being followed? So, and the outcomes of the research right now is just obviously to gather some data in terms of colostrum and milk management, and then give that feedback to the farms, and then try and find some of the factors that are associated with health as well as mortality in calves. And then more importantly is to come up with some specific intervention strategies given the information that we have, because really at this point, just telling farmers what to do without sort of like living in their shoes becomes very difficult, just because they've got so many things that they're doing on the farm. So sometimes it doesn't get done, as we recommend. So I think it's very, very important that, from this study and from this data collection, we'll be able to give very specific intervention strategies that will reduce morbidity and mortality in dairy calves. So that's all I had for you, and that is my email on that last slide. And I'll be happy to, if you had more questions, you can send me an email, and I'll be able to respond to your emails. Thank you, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Munashe. Thank you very much you have depicted the different factors. I don't know whether there are some questions. Perhaps we have some time for question. I have actually one question. That is, we have been trying, or we have been emphasizing the importance of colostrum for the last, I would say, 30 years, 40 years. But nevertheless, we still need to highlight, to emphasize, and to repeat the role of the colostrum. Why do you think we still need, after so long time, to remind and to go back to this topic? Is there something that the farmer or the veterinarian do not understand or do not perceive? Why is this?
I'll give you my own perception. I think, I've already described some of the challenges they face because of time management on a farm. But I think the second reason is more the perception of the importance of a calf. I mean, I always think that sometimes farmers are paying attention to what's making money, and what's making money on a dairy farm is the lactating cow. So I think resources are usually put towards managing lactating cows, less so towards raising calves. And I'll give you an example of some of the things that I've seen on some of the dairy farms in California, and particularly over the pandemic. What happened was, even during hiring, the focus was on milkers rather than people who were raising calves. And they would hire somebody to milk the cows and then later on train them to raise calves as well, not the other way around. And on some farms, you don't really even have a dedicated person that does the calf management, but obviously you always have enough people to milk. So I think we have sort of encouraged and even for a veterinarian as well, when I walk onto a farm and do head checks, I think my paycheck is going to come from the lactating cows more than, standard protocols for calves, which basically are spending money until they're 2 years of age, basically.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know whether there are questions. Otherwise, I have another question because behind you, you have the picture of, I suppose, is I don't know, is a jersey. And I have a question. So at least we were convinced that the colostrum, the quality of the colostrum of Jersey cow is better than Holstein. Is this true? Or and in this case, it is true. It could be a good idea to have the colostrum storage colostrum from Jersey cow.
It is very true, very, very true. The colostrum quality in terms of the amounts of lactoferrin, the amounts of immunoglobulin is way, way higher. For California, I'll give you the average IgG content for colostrum from Jersey cows ranges from 70 grams per liter to about 160 grams per liter. Whereas for the Holsteins, it probably ranges from 35 to about 65. So it's almost half. In California, usually farmers raise Jersey cows if their focus is on selling milk products like cheese and so on. But if their focus is just selling volume, because they get paid for volume, most of the time they will raise Holsteins. So most of the Holsteins will produce as much as 200 pounds of milk per day, whereas most Jerseys, maybe, 100 pounds would be like a really good milker. So most of the milk from the Holsteins are, what people are going to buy from the grocery store, whereas most of the Jersey milk is what's going to make the products for export, cheese and cheese products. So it is true. Now, on most Jersey farms, they might not have as much trouble with getting enough immunoglobulins into calves because it's really concentrated. It's mostly on Holsteins that they face really, really tough time in feeding good quality colostrum because they just don't have good quality colostrum. I mean, that's one of the emphasis on testing the colostrum because there is no point in keeping a colostrum sample with 35 grams per liter of IgG because that is not good and most likely it's not going to be sufficient for the calf.
Your microphone, Arcangelo.
Sorry, yeah. I have a question from the chat. That is a good question because the acceptable temperature for each treatment of colostrum, because we know that towing the colostrum can damage the colostrum.
Yeah, absolutely. So and that's one of the things that some of the farmers are skeptical. I mean, we know that heat treatment of colostrum does kill the cells, which we know that are important as well. But the temperatures that are known to denature the immunoglobulins is 56 degrees Celsius or higher. So when farmers make a pasteurized, they have to make sure that within that hour, as the temperature is going up, it cannot be above 56 degrees Celsius. And usually what we do when we have a producer that's just made, a pasteurized, we always collect samples prior to heat treatment and then after, and then make sure that they're actually still retaining immunoglobulins, and also make sure that if it's fed to the calf, actually you can still detect those immunoglobulins in the serum of calf. So anything above 56 degrees Celsius would obviously denature the immunoglobulins.
Yeah, because Rachel in the chat says that she had clients who literally boiled the colostrum and had the issues with failure of passive transfer. Yeah, it was practically completely boiled.
Yeah. And also, and the other thing is that when the temperature is too high, the colostrum becomes too thick. It's almost like yogurt, because you've lost all the water content. So then it's not good either.
And a last question, I don't know whether I don't see in the chat as a question. So, you have emphasized the role of the colostrum, and I think you meant the first colostrum. What is your opinion on, let's say, the second colostrum or the use of colostrum or second or third colostrum for the first days of life of calves?
I would say that the second, I mean, I know farms that use the second and even the third colostrum, and what they've done is they've tested the IgG in the colostrum and think it's still acceptable. However, what we recommend, and there's some studies done in Ireland as well, that, you know, usually you can feed the second milking colostrum, but that shouldn't be the first feeding. You know, that should be maybe the second, you know, or even the third if you're giving more than twice feeding. So I would think that the first milking colostrum should be the first thing that's fed, but right now we're discouraging farmers from feeding the second milking as the main colostrum feeding.
Yeah, but I mean, has a second feed or a third feed. So I understand that the first is for the first time, first colostrum, first time, as John Mee also emphasized and reminded yesterday. First, but second colostrum for second feeding, or third colostrum for third feeding. So due to the presence of other ingredients, other substances that can be very helpful also for the calf health.
Yeah, I think what at least the experience that I've had with some producers is that they take, if they do milk the, I mean, the second milking colostrum, if you will, they actually mix it with the rest of the milk and fed to the older calves. And so that becomes, again, the emphasis for testing. I think if a farm had, you know, second milking colostrum that had 70 grams per of IgG per liter, I mean, you can still keep that and actually feed it, you know, like, you know, first milking colostrum. So again, if they can test and prove that it actually still has high IgG, I don't see a reason to do that. I think we kind of like argue with the producers if they're saying, well, I think it's still good, but they don't have evidence that actually it is good.
Okay, thank you. Then usually we keep the time in 1 hour, 15 minutes. Therefore, we are already over. I thank Munashe for your kindness to repeat your presentation. I thank Romana not only for showing us the situation in Czech Republic, but also for the Congress. I just only would like to emphasize the presence of our attendance. Also, if we are not a lot, but perhaps the fact that as usually, I miscalculated the time, but we have people from all over the world. From the name that I recognize, we have people from Europe, from Albania, from French, of Italy, but also from Indonesia, from Malaysia, from Ecuador, from China, from Serbia. So therefore, we are practically this webinar represent all the words, and therefore I'm happy, really happy for that. Therefore, thank you again, Munashe. Thank you, Romana. Now we here in Brno, we are going to prepare ourselves for the gala dinner, and for the other participant, I wish you the best. I don't know, for some of you is afternoon, for some of you is morning, perhaps for some of you is night. Therefore, I wish, so whatever it is in your country, dinner, night, good afternoon, or good morning, whatever it is. Thank you very much. I just remind our World Pediatric Congress in Cancun next month, and for sure we are going to organize another webinar directly from the Congress in Cancun. Organizing a webinar from a Congress is a live event, and therefore there are always some problem. But so I think it is perhaps more lively, and I think it is better also for the involvement of all of us. Thank you very much. Thank you again, and see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.